Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today and wishing you all a happy new year. I think it's a great way to start the new year where we get to hang out with our favorite writers, historians, dancers, musicians, and everyone else. I personally feel really fortunate to be here today with two people I really admire, Sanjay sir and Krupa. I was forced into listening to Sanjay sir as a child. My party was a huge fan, and he was always on the radio and on the television. But I grew up and voluntarily started going to his concerts. And one of the memorable ones was 2019 Christmas Day concert at Krishna Gana Sabha, that not for a minute I took my eyes off the stage. So thank you for many memorable performances over the years. With Krupa, I first met her through her writing, and then she became a dear friend. And I really admire how versatile she is, and as a fellow writer, slightly envious too, on how easily she's able to navigate different genres. So thank you both for being here, and thanks everyone. Sanjay says, people usually write a memoir at the end of a long, illustrious career, or when they're retiring, like cricket players. You've chosen to write one, sort of at a point in time where you felt like you need to reflect on what has gone by and what you plan to bring to us in the future. To me, it seems like the pandemic had something to do with it. That was, in a way, a breaking point in you sitting and thinking about your life. Maybe we all did because we had so much time on our hands. But can you tell us why this book and why now?
Thank you. Yes, my first thought about a book, writing a book, has been since I read my first book. So like most of everybody, we all dream of writing. And then of course, your English teacher clearly tells you that, sorry, you're not good enough. So very early on, you know that it's not going to happen. But then finally, when you do write a book, you realize that you can't write it, so you get the help of a writer. But coming to the book and why I wrote it, yes, when I read the autobiography of Charlie Chaplin, that was actually a turning point because he wrote it much later in life compared to many of his contemporaries, and looked at that as a kind of inspiration and thought that if I wrote it, I would write it much later. But then, like you said, the pandemic definitely set us all thinking. Like, for instance, from singing a concert every 2 days for 30 years to sitting at home for 8 months without a concert, it can take its toll on people's minds. Yeah, you can get up in the morning, you can sing for a few hours, and then what? So the time to actually reflect was, especially in the case of a performing artist, was huge. And I am a very positive kind of a person. So in that sense that I look for, what do I get out of this time that I reflect? So one of the things was, I was answering a lot of questions that were there that I had not answered in the past. Like for instance, at all points of time, I would sing only Carnatic music. I never sang any other form of music, publicly or professionally. That was a choice that I consciously took. And then the pandemic came, and then there was no opportunity to sing what you wanted to sing. So then why did you take that choice? That was the question that was primarily being answered at that point of time. And I keep coming back to the fact that, yeah, I wanted to do X, Y, Z in that form of music. I wanted to achieve a certain level of proficiency or skill or whatever you want to call it, material or immaterial. However you want to explain it, there is something that you want to do. Tangible, intangible goals, let's say, And then suddenly you realize half your life is finished. And then you see and you reflect and you look at this wonderful work that youngsters and so many other people are doing. And you say you still have a chance, maybe to, latch on to those fellows and not feel too old. And they will also not consider me too old. So they'll say, come on, vaanga paravala, apdinu, Rather than an old man, they'll say, Anna, apdinu, vaanga, apdinu kubdo. So andalavuku, there was still some time left. So in that sense, the pandemic made me look back. And then when I knew that a lot of things were happening in my life, I said, I always believe that when there is a turbulent phase in society, be it politics, be it social, be it cultural, it should be documented, that process, because there is a lot of things that are happening in either a society's mind or in an individual's mind when such things happen. And I think when they are documented and written, it is there for posterity in some way or the other. So that was my original plan, in the sense that so many things are going through my mind and I want to document it. And now is the time to immediately, because I'm doing all these things, I'm doing so many other things that I have never done for 30, 35 years. So let me put it in the form of a book and also use that opportunity to look back a bit, So that's what.
Krupa, this is more of a roundabout question, because 2 years ago at the Hindu Lit for Life, I heard Gideon Hay talk about his time spent writing Wasim Akram's memoir, Sultan. And he said that the only reason he agreed to do the project was because Wasim Akram said, I will tell you honestly about my life. And he said that was what was on the table at that stage. I've read all of your work till now, your nonfiction, fiction, all your commentary, your news reports. This book, I can't see you in it, but it feels like Sanjay sir is directly talking to us. And my question is, what had to happen? What was that initial conversation you both had that made you sound like Sanjay Subrahmanyan?
Actually, I'd like to think that I miraculously captured his voice as a great writer, but it took a bit of a trial and error. I kind of sent him a couple of passages in different kinds of voices, and I asked him, does this sound close to you, or does that sound closer to who you are? And then we kind of had a chat about, which direction the book should go in the beginning. Especially the first chapter, the first couple of chapters, I wanted him to be okay with the way it was sounding. Of course, he is a great storyteller himself, so his presence looms large over the voice of, that you see in the book. But also in my other life as a writer of fiction, I'm also preoccupied with capturing voices, and this is practically playing ventriloquist, and I kind of really enjoyed doing that. And to be very honest, I'm not that proficient in Carnatic music. Okay, so becoming Sanjay was the only way that I could do this book well, because I don't want people to know how little I know, but when I can become him, then I can speak with some authority. So it's also a way of calming my own anxiety of what this voice is going to do. That's just a little bit of what goes on behind the stage. But interestingly, it was Wasim Akram's Sultan that sort of made me want to try this voice, because I felt like that was a very interesting sort of experiment, and it had been done very well. Gideon Hay's book was really good, so I thought we should try to do something like that. In fact, that's one of the examples I gave Sanjay when we wanted to do the book.
I'm really glad I thought of it too. When we met a few months ago, in preparation for this talk, where we had coffee, you said, maybe I mentioned too many names in the book. I have thanked everyone. I think you were trying to thank everyone, right? That is you acknowledging that so many people helped you in this journey. And one of the chapters is very aptly named, It Takes a Village to Raise a Musician. And it was very nice to see this sort of teacher, or it could have been a relative or a guru or a person who you just walked past in a studio. Everyone seems to have left a mark on you. But the most memorable sort of interaction when I read the book was your relationship with S.R.D. Vaidyanathan, a Nadaswaram Vidwan. And I just like to read a tiny little line from that. You write how the conversations with him psychologically opened up your singing. And you say, is it because Nadaswaram Vidwans play out in the open that their minds too seem so open in terms of ideas? We perform inside auditoriums, and I fear that it has restricted our creative thinking. Can you tell us about this bond you shared with him?
Okay, it was a very, very wonderful way of, in fact, the way I met him itself is very nice. Sheikh Chinna Maulana's grandson, Qasim, one day, actually, he was coming to Madras. So he called me and he said, I want you to meet this Nadaswara Vidwan called S.R.D. Vaidyanathan. So we both went. He had just recovered from an open heart surgery. And so I went to his house and we spent a good 2-3 hours, and he sang a bit and showed me. He asked me to sing. I sang, and it was very nice, very warm and all that. And then he sang one small padam. Summa, summa, வருகுமா சுகம் அப்படின்னு பாடினார். ஸோ எனக்கு அது ரொம்ப எப்போது வந்து நான் இதை கற்றுக்கிறேன் அப்படின்னு ஐ ஜஸ்ட் செட் ஒன் வேர்ட், ஐ ட்ரை அண்ட் கம் அண்ட் லேர்ன் இட் அண்ட் லெஃப்ட். வித்தின் அபவுட் அ வீக் ஆர் 10 days ஐ காட் அ கால் ஃப்ரம் ஹிம். ஏதோ அந்த பதம் கற்றுக்கிறேன், நீங்களே வரீங்களா அப்படின்னாரு. So of course, I mean, my guru had passed away about 3-4 years before that, KSK Mama. And I mean, I wouldn't say I was rudderless, but I still, you were about 31, 32, maybe a little bit more. And you could do with some mentorship, it's not so difficult. So when he called me, and I know his background, I know what family he comes from, the kind of music they have played, and I was in awe of that school of music, because I knew what the Sambanargoil school was capable of. So when he actually sang it and I understood his greatness, for me it was an opportunity. So I went and met him and he immediately taught me. But when he was teaching me, he would say these things, like how he said, இது நீங்க பாடுறீங்க நல்லா தான் இருக்கு, பாடலாம்ல, தப்பு இல்லைல்ல. So I mean, immediately it changes or switch, So what? Then why are we singing? Because there is something minute, there is something intricate, there is something intimate. And then the whole dimension of the sound changes. And when he sings and shows, you can imagine him playing it in the instrument. And then he'll say, நான் ஆசுரம் வாசிச்சு நீங்க கேட்டதில்லைல்ல அப்படிம்பார். ஐயோ வாசிச்சிருக்கலாமே. அப்போ unfortunately I missed that part, because at that time we were in Madras, he was in Mayaram, and he was playing in those places, so we never heard. But you could imagine what he did with that. And then those things open up these areas in your mind, and then it changes the way you sing on stage. I mean, that is very visible in people who have heard me over the years. They know what I used to sing and how it changed. In fact, the moment I say this out loud, then they will next time say, sir, அந்த இடத்துல நான் சொல்ற மாதிரி பண்ணீங்கல்ல அப்படின்னு அவளே வந்து நம்ம சொன்னதை வச்சே நம்மள்ட்ட சொல்லுவா. Because once you give information, that is like, for them to use against you. Forget about them using it.
Krupa, I remember you telling me that actually was one of your favorite parts of the book too. And there was a line, again, I'm quoting, SRD helped me realize that in art, there was no such thing as this can be done or this should be done. So when Sanjay sir was narrating this to you during your interviews, did that spark anything in your own mind which affected and influenced your writing?
Yes, for sure. That is also my favorite part of the book, because it's also some of the parts of the book that have gone verbatim pretty much, because I felt like it was really coming from an artist's subconscious, his reflection on art, Sanjay's reflection on art. And in fact, while we were talking about this, Sanjay compares his conversations with SRD to Rilke's letters to his wife about Paul Cézanne's paintings and the blues in them. And that Rilke had to invent names of blues for the work that he was looking at. And after that, for weeks, I was just reading Rilke's letters to his wife, and I'm now pretty familiar with all of those paintings. And then I had to write a short story, a fictional story later as part of a workshop, and they both made it to that story. So art obviously sort of feeds off of inspiration like this, and I freely stole from Sanjay. So
you speak in some detail about your relationship with Tamil. You say that reading Tamil literature, reading short stories suddenly made you go beyond Mylapore and Madras, and you started traveling, even if it wasn't physically, which you did when you were younger, but mentally you were everywhere, and it sort of affected the way you write your Pallavi, how you sing your songs. And you started appreciating the lyrics. First, you say that tune paadno illa, I have to get it right. I didn't really care so much about what is being sung. And suddenly you woke up to, what am I singing? And now you have full-fledged concerts, right, in Tamil. Tamil Nanum is your 3-4 hour long concerts. You choose the composers, oftentimes people who are not very well known. Can you tell us about the journey of walking side by side with the Tamil language?
So one of the, always we have as performers, you are looking at broadening the space. You know, how many more people can come and listen to you? That is one of the questions that as performers, we are always addressing, because you want 10 more people to come for the next concert. So then what is it that drives people? Now, if you look at any other form of music, or internationally or locally, lyric is a very primary mode of communication between a singer and the audience. So it's like, why do we still talk about It's a Wonderful World as a song? Because it's iconic, it says so many beautiful things. Why do they say, "Thing of beauty is a joy forever"? Because these lyrics still resonate with us even after 100 years or 150. So it's important that, but the thing is, in Carnatic music, the language has changed, because Tyagaraja composed at a point of time when Telugu was a court language or a language of a particular class of people. But then when you want to move the music out, then you need to talk or sing in languages that are acceptable, accessible, etc. So for me, that was one very important mode for answering that question. The second was my gurus, both my grand aunt, my KSK Mama or the SRD, all of them. They would always say, when I was going to a concert, they would say, "Tamil la enna paada pora?" I mean, that was important for them, because they believed that in Madras or in Tamil Nadu, you realize that when your audience has that profile, you can't alienate that language by singing in a language that they don't understand or don't follow. So how many times can we go on selling Karagara Priya or selling Tyagaraja or selling the Trinity? As a performer, you still have to communicate. And then when you sing those Tamil songs in the middle, maybe it's one song, maybe it's 2 songs, maybe it's 3 songs, you start getting feedback. People come and say, "Sir, neenga adala nalla irukku, ana Tamil paattu parringala nalla, adudha sir." So when you get that resonance back, that's an incentive for you to come back to it again and again. Then what happens? The repertoire is limited. You want to expand. Then you get into this. There was about 18 years when I was performing for Margari Mahotsav on Jaya TV and all that. See, I realized that television channel caters to a Tamil audience. Purely, it's Tamil Nadu and Tamil people. So I wanted to sing only in Tamil for those programs. So literally for 15 years, every year I would choose a Tamil-based theme to perform. And it gave me an opportunity to dig into the archives, dig into the musical memories of musicians, books, recordings, and get out songs from somewhere. So many musicians have come and asked me, senior musicians, "Engappa pidicha indha paata appadinu?" "Illaya, unga veetla irukra bookla dhaan irukku" appadinu. "Enga veetla irukra bookla kuda illa, unga kitte irukku andha book." I mean, it said it is there. It is for us to open our eyes and see. Avladhaan, அந்த ஒரு இருக்கு ஆனா இல்லை அப்படிம்பா இல்லையா, அந்த மாதிரி it's there, it's right there. So that is one of the big incentives for me to get into Tamil. And then as you learn the language and as you read the music, fortunately for me, after singing Tamil songs for so many years, I started understanding the value of Kannada or Telugu or other languages also. Now I take more care when I'm articulating the lyrics of the other languages as well, as opposed to before.
Krupa, what was the language of the interviews? Did he speak in Tamil or English? And did he speak, as he's always fantastic in the animated chat. So I feel if you're the person interviewing, you will never get bored. So was there a memorable afternoon spent with Sanjay sir?
All of them were pretty much like this. They would, but we were basically, we had 10 sessions of interviews where we met, because there are about 10 to 11 chapters. And each session would last about an hour, and I would come with questions, he would have his answers ready, and it would just so happen that at the end of that hour, we look at the clock and it's like, oh, it's 1 hour. We got our today's thing done, because it was a perfect conversation for 1 hour we would have. It would be pretty much exactly like this. The conversation would be in Tanglish. So there would be English, that just like it is now. There'd be Tamil, there'd be English, and so it was, all of the afternoons were fun. And it was also, I just had a baby when we decided that we were going to write this book. And so this was Sanjay and Aarti, his wife, were the only 2 people I met during those early months, and so they were my only friends. So that was actually a really good thing, and I would go to their house and hot coffee would be ready, and as you can see, food was more important than conversations.
After you received the Sangeeta Kalanidhi in 2015, you write how you felt some pressure, but someone told your mother-in-law, "Illa, ippo parunga, he'll start feeling freer." And one of the things that happened is you started reflecting on your voice. And spoiler alert for those who haven't read the book, but that was the most shocking part of the book for me, that you were not a huge fan or didn't have a good opinion of your voice, right? And I thought, but how? How is this possible? When I thought about it, you also confess to be a self-critical person. It makes sense for the artist to have these moments. Tell us about what that meant for you, not having a good opinion about your voice.
See, from a very young age, in fact, one of the first times I had gone to Bombay for a concert, and Times of India carried a huge review with the title Ineffective Articulation. This was my first review. So from that time, they will all say, "Nanna parran, ana voice thaan." This I have heard this for many, many, many years. Not so much these days. But even now, when I meet a few senior people older than me, they would remind me of those things. But yeah, that was one thing. And secondly, I've always been very hard on myself. Generally, I would insist. Because see, the thing is, what happens is, the musical goals determine these things. See, for instance, you want to sing a particular phrase, you want to sing a particular raga in a particular manner, or you look up to a certain artist and you want to emulate them. So which means that you want to replicate the ideas or the phrasing or the speed or the intonations that they have done. And you are not able to do it. So that causes some level of frustration in the mind. So when you cannot do that, then it makes you more doubt yourself. Why can't I not sing? So maybe there is a problem. And then somebody will write, he sang very, very well. The Sahana was excellent, but the voice cracked in the upper octaves, and that kind of changed the mood. This is very common in many of my early reviews. It would come. So these things make you think, oh, maybe there is something wrong. Maybe there is something wrong. But then what happens is, you listen to that applause after that ragam and you say, okay, to hell with all these guys. Those people are with me. All these people who clapped are with me. Forget that one guy or one lady who wrote like that about me. Use some language and dismiss them. So that was the way you took it. But then it stayed, because even if it is one person, it stays. Like in today's social media, if you go and read comments, out of 893 comments, there'll be that one comment. One. If you see it, that's it. So it's like that. So those things happen. Like for instance, I had sung the Sangeeta Kalanidhi I sang that concert, huge crowd, everybody is very happy. One person comes up to me and said, your voice, there was a crack upstairs. There was a problem. Then, but once that's like I said, there is it's like tangible goals. For a Carnatic musician, the Sangeeta Kalanidhi was a tangible goal for a long time. Of course, you never expected to get it till you were much older, so you could carry on without thinking about it. The moment that pressure, you got it, then there is something that's off, then you can do whatever you want. The first time I felt that was when my guru died, strangely enough. Because now I was not answerable to anybody. I could sing what I wanted. He would say, he would be there, அந்த ராகம்லாம் ஏன்டா அப்படி பாடுற அப்படின்னு. அவர் போயிட்டாருன்னா நான் எப்படி பண்ணேன், யாருக்கு பதில் சொல்லணும்? அந்த மாதிரி, it's a freedom in the mind of an artist, because see, you care for their opinion, so you want to hear good things, and you don't want to do something that upsets them, because they have given you so much. But the moment they are not there, then your mind changes. So now you're not answerable like that, but you're answerable to yourself. So if you are convinced, fine. So that way, you move forward with it. So the voice is like that. So one time you have to think, and then you start working with it. And then as you're working, you realize, okay, you did all this in the past because you had certain musical goals. Now that musical goals have shifted, the focus is moved to something else. So now, what kind of work do you need to do to shape these musical goals and work towards them? So that is how you move from that space to this space.
you wrote how you are taking some voice lessons, right?
Yeah,
The
of
last few years, you've
Of
also
course.
been working on it to change some
Sure,
of the
sure.
bad habits, as you call it. Kripa, was there something you felt like Sanjay sir should talk about in his memoir that you hadn't already, planned out? You felt like you pushed him to say, was something, say, politics or family or something that you felt like he should talk more about this?
Well, for sure, we decided that his family should be a part of this book because I felt like in a memoir, people they should come away feeling like they've gotten to know him, and I felt like that will be there might not be another space for those sort of things to for him to talk about. For instance, the influence his family has had, and there are some really fun things that he talks about like how his daughter would say mime from the audience, wrap up the concert. I have max exam tomorrow. You have to come home, and things like that. And so I felt like these are things that we wouldn't usually get access to from a senior musician, and so. But he was pretty much, as I've been saying, a cool customer, and he was pretty game with whatever I sort of proposed, and he was pretty open about it, and he was also very sure about how he wanted to articulate his point of view in terms of anything, be it about religion or politics or spirituality, about family. He had to do it his way. As long as it was done in his way, he was fine with it. So I felt like that's why we were both pretty satisfied with the book, I feel.
I mentioned this to you when we met, that throughout the book, I was expecting that one definitive chapter that Sanjay Subrahmanyan will now tell us what he thinks about what is happening in the Carnatic space and all the conversations we're having in Chennai and all the new conversations. But there wasn't such a chapter. But what I did love is that throughout the book, it is very political, and we get to know how you feel about the world, and that's very subtle and wonderful. Should public personalities have a strong opinion, you think, about things? People demand you're not telling me what you think, or is it okay to just quietly do your work, and your work then is showcasing how you feel?
See, public personalities can develop their personality, no? They don't have to listen to demands. It's their choice. Yeah, public personalities' choices should not be determined by what is demanded of them. They are public personalities because they choose to come in public. See, I come in public because I want to sing, not because of anything else. You are coming to listen to me because you want to hear my voice or hear me sing. Everything else is after that. And I choose what I want to present or what I don't want to present. For me, singing is more important. For me, sharing my music with people is more important. For me, that is my primary goal as a public. Another personality can have his or her own goal. Perfectly fine. It's for them to live or die by their values. It's there. For me, this is my perspective. For them, whatever it is, it's there, fine. I am not anybody to advise how a public personality should, say what they have to say or not. No. That's all.
And you say it, you say that I'm not a saint or a seer, I'm a singer, and I have a very specific objective when I come to the public face. Right?
Yeah, saints and seers are saying what they are.
Yeah. Kripa, when did you first meet Sanjay sir? And can you today confidently say he's your friend? And also, can you tell us, in a very public platform, any off-record conversations that you may have had with him?
Yeah, I don't want to be sued, but there were many off-the-record conversations. I don't know about Sanjay, but Aarti, I've told Aarti, she's my gal pal. Now she is my, but he's also a friend. I would count him as a fellow, because he also has such a great interest in food, which he discusses.
Not only that, I loved her book, which is why I asked her to write this book.
Thank you.
So she's written a very wonderful book, fiction book, What We Know About Her. And that was my actual... That was exactly the reason why I asked her to write this book, because that book had all the elements that I would expect from a writer who I would want to write my book, because it had Madras, it had Carnatic music especially, and it had everything associated with the culture that I grew up with. So I knew that whatever I said would resonate with her when she writes it. So
Thank you. See, he's better at answering questions than I am, clearly. But you were asking me something. They will stay off record. Maybe they'll be in a museum somewhere 100 years later.
you want off-record conversations on the record now, is it? Really?
People have traveled from far and wide to hear us.
Hey,
Might
let
as
them
well
read
give
the book.
You've branched out in the last few years. Obviously, you talk about that shift in life. And you've done film songs. And you've done the wonderful Vallalar project, where you learned a lot, you said, from the band that you hung out with. 2 Coke studio appearances and Vidudalai 2, including the audio launch where you stood up and sang instead of sitting down. In your book, you say somebody asked you, why are you doing all this at this stage in your career? What would you like to say about that question?
See, Derek, I already explained it in the sense that I still didn't consider myself old enough to avoid the youngsters. And I think the youngsters also didn't consider me old enough to avoid my company. So we kind of got a good balance there to meet. And that helped me. And see, as a singer, see, like I said, the whole process of, in my mind, to move from the space of Carnatic musician to a singer. I mean, the whole, it's a mental shift in my mind, So once you're a singer, then you are like a technician. They ask you to sing, you sing. So whatever they ask you to sing, you sing. If they want you to sing more, you sing more. That's all. Otherwise, you sing what they ask you to sing. So there I am very clear what I want to do. But at the same time, I enjoy the experience of working with minds like that. Like, if I didn't do this, Ilayaraja, I grew up from the age of 5 and 6 listening to that man's music. My musical journey is the same as his musical journey. When I knew to hear music, I was 7 years old, Annakili came out. So if I had not changed my attitude, I won't have a chance to work with a man like him. Or for that matter, if not, I can use my muscle as my influence with a younger music composer like Sean Roldan and tell him, listen, I want to work with you. And he can say, Anna, go. At least I'm in that position to ask him, and he can say, yes, please come. So I can work with him because he's a brilliant mind. He's a brilliant creative mind. I've heard his work. I like working with him. And I know him personally also. So this is a advantageous position to be in. Somebody like Ilayaraja could actually not look at me as a bacha, but actually say, Vanga Sanjay, அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம்ல. அந்த அளவுக்கு நமக்கு ஒரு வயசும் ஆயிடுது. So அப்போ you are in the best of both worlds. Why not take advantage of it? That's what I did.
And can you tell us about meeting Ilayaraja for the first time?
Of course. I can talk about him all day. But the thing is, for me personally, it's very interesting. I can share a few things. In fact, I even told him that when he did Mari Mari Ninne in Sindhu Bhairavi film in the 80s, being a hardcore Carnatic musician, it was like you couldn't accept it. How could he do it? And my first reaction was musical. What was it? Idayam oru koyil, adil udayam oru paadal. இவரு நம்ம பாட்டை மாத்தினா அவர் பாட்டை நான் மாத்துறேன். This is the reaction. I sang this and showed it to Ilayaraja and he just laughed. He just laughed out loud, so happily. And then he explained why he did what he did. And then I said, of course, that's what music is, that's what art is, and that's what people do. There is no disrespect to anybody when you do that. It's tribute. It's not disrespect, it's tribute. If I sing Idayam or Koil like this, it is a tribute to Ilayaraja because I love the man and his music. Similarly, if he did that with the Tyagaraja Kirtana, it's his tribute to Tyagaraja because he loves Tyagaraja so much. And that's how you understand it over a period of time. He made me understand that, in a sense, when he explained it so beautifully. Of course, singing, recording, it's a boon just to work with the man because he teaches you the song exactly like how any of my gurus taught me songs. He will, until you get it right, he will not stop. திருப்பி அந்த ராகம் வரணும். அப்போ ஒரே தரம் சொன்னார். He said, singers thinks in terms of notes. Composers think in terms of frequencies. I mean, it is such a profound statement. Only a man with a musical mind like that can think like that and say it out loud. I mean, see, frequencies are something we sing every day. In Carnatic music, frequencies are important because we work between the notes. But for a man like Ilayaraja to call me out and say, listen, you are still thinking in terms of notes, means that there is still so much more in music, so much more to dive into, so much more to dig into and see, So that was phenomenal. And even now, he has actually asked me to work on a project with him. And so it means that every 3-4 weeks, I go and see him. It's like a battery booster for me. It's just to go and see him and sing a couple of things and come and all that. So
when we know someone for the art they perform publicly, right? So we've seen you as Sanjay Subrahmanyan, the person who wears white and white, sits on a stage and sings. And then you get into your car and you go home. And nobody knows what you do there. But by the end of, on that note, I have discovered that you do a whole host of other things. For instance, of course, you always like cricket, but I think you like Arsenal also now to connect.
Arsenal, yes.
Yeah, connect with your son. You played one board game 200 times.
Yeah, but I also have played 200 board games once.
You've traveled to Ranga pens to buy an Indian ebonite pen.
Yes, ebony in not only Ranga pens, but also Ratnam pens in Rajapalayam. Rajamandri.
You have an eclectic stamp collection, also a philately group and a Czech composer, if I'm right.
Yes, Bredrich Smetana.
And you play crypto fantasy football, which I don't understand what it is.
Yeah, it's called a website called So Rare, where I follow a second division Spanish football team called Racing Santander. Well,
I didn't understand that, but sure.
They're almost in the point of getting promoted to the Division 1. Hopefully.
And you said you obsessively record, archive, bookkeep, you record everything you do, including the board games you play, the liquor you drink, ellame.
Yes.
So if I ask you, who are you today, what will you say?
Today I'm in front of you.
Identity.
In whatever capacity. So, yeah, I mean, I still am a singer to the world in that sense, because I still look at myself as a singer. I think that has given me I spend the most time doing that, and it has given me the most fulfilling experience. Everything else is ancillary, So if you want to take primary and secondary, there are plenty of secondary activities that I keep doing, changing. But I'm always a singer. So I still sing. That's my primary job.
And you have written that you try your best not to be that boomer uncle when someone calls and they're like, oh, in the boomer uncle, which you're trying not to be. Who gives you feedback to be a better boomer uncle?
My children. First. They are my first feedback.
Do you run your posts past them if you're trying to?
Posts, not so much, but yeah, sometimes I do.
Suddenly in 2023, you went from pure whites to a multicolored robe, dark glasses on a Sean Roldan who
Also, yes.
Coke Studio performance for Ele Makka. Who styled you? Was that your choice?
No. Those, they have every shoot or this thing has a proper costume fashion designer who's paid to do this. So whatever I am is what they put me on.
So when I looked it up on YouTube, someone had written drip, which when I looked it up on Google, I found drip irrigation. So I don't know what drip is. Tell us what drip is and how do you feel about being called drip?
I had no idea what the word was. And interestingly, my niece, my brother's daughter from the US, she actually explained what drip was and said, I only asked her one thing, is it complimentary? And she said, definitely. So thank you.
Krupa, final question to you. Is there something you'd like to ask him that you forgot to ask in all this time with Sanjay sir?
Yeah, who's your favorite playback singer? Who are you?
Playback singer,
Yeah.
SP Balasubramanian.
So there we have it.
So we have a final minute. I've done well with time, not bad. I want to request for a song, but I have to, this is me moderating, so I'll give you two choices. Okay, you can have a third one. One is Vidudalai 2 song, Ele Makka, which I love, and a choice of song that you'd like.
So I'll take the liberty of, in a concert, if these choices were asked, I'll have to sing the full song. But now, because it's this kind of a session, I don't have to sing the full song. So I can just say, Manasila, Manasila, oru maadiriya irukku, nenapula, நினப்புல அது புது விதமாயிருக்கு. ஏலே மக்கா களவாணி கொக்கா நிலைக்காத வாழ்க்கைக்கா அணைக்கட்டி வச்சாலும் நிக்காம போகும் ஓடு தண்டனக்கா. இதுக்கு மேல வார்த்தை ஞாபகம் இல்ல, சாரி.
I finished with 5 seconds to spare. I think
I can sing one more song.
Please, please.
Because it's a lit fest. நூலை படி நூலை படி சங்கத்தமிழ் நூலை படி காலையில் படி கடும் பகல் படி மாலை இரவு பொருள் படும்படி நூலை படி. Thank you.
Q&A. Okay, now we open it up to the audience. Please ask him questions. The young woman in... Okay, first, sure.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, Sanjay, I'll be honest with you. I walked out of one of your concerts a couple of years back, pre-COVID, at the Indian Fine Arts because the quality of sound was so poor. So can you comment on the quality of sound at the sabhas and how that can change going forward?
No, there are
Because it is a deterrent for many people too.
I agree with you. There are exceptions. Most sabhas, the sound system is good. Once in a way, it could be bad. But whatever it is, the music, we try not to compromise. So we still try to sing our best always.
The person, yeah, in the last row.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much for being here. So the simple question that I have is, how do you actually plan your day, like time management, right? Because obviously there are so many busy people in this room and you are one such person. I'm a big fan. So do you just like old style or notebook penala that morning you write down what you're going to do for the day? Or do you have short-term goals for the whole week? Do you use Google Calendar? Just a small takeaway for me. Thank you.
That I have a full-time Google Calendar and my wife at home. So she takes care of everything.
Sanjay, hi. Everybody has known you as a Carnatic singer, but I want to bring you back the Vidya Mandir days, jam debate master Sanjay Subrahmanyan. For jam, for those uninitiated, is just a minute. You give any topic to Sanjay, he can blabber away non-stop for 1 minute. Shall I give the topic or I'll have the
I thought I
host
was
give a
doing
topic?
that for the last 40 minutes.
But this is in jam style, your typical Vidya Mandir.
You want me to jam now?
Yes.
So you're asking me a question so that I go on talking like this for 1 minute so that you get your piece of glory for this 2 minutes and everybody claps so that what you asked for gets the biggest round of applause rather than what I've been doing for the last 40 minutes. Thank you very much.
I have a question, short question. Excuse me? Here, sir.
I just wanted to ask you a question on going down the line, probably 10 years, 15 years down the line, if you want to write a sequel to this, Memories of a Life in Music. What would your thoughts be?
Hopefully I'll do enough things in the next 15 years that warrants a book. Hopefully.
No, but will the Sabha scene change? Would music transform with
I am not an
technology?
astrologer. I cannot predict what will happen
No, but
tomorrow.
with technology in place, advancement in technology, will things change for the better?
Possible. I can't say, no. I'm not a soothsayer. I can't say.
I have a very short question. Carnatic music is generally considered as very conservative. So how much of modernity can be permitted in? Is there any...
Who told you it's
yardstick?
considered conservative?
Generally.
Generally means what? What is your source of your information?
So for example, it is generally not for the whole population.
No, you're
It's kind
talking
of
about the music or you're talking about where
the
it's...
songs as well as the music.
It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot in the last 100 years because from the time, see, if you look at Carnatic music as an art form, performing art form, I want to be specific because this generally means we can get into a long argument. So as a performing art form, it is about 150 years old at the most. So in this 150 years, a lot of changes have happened in the art form, and it's very visible. So if you go and attend concerts, you will see the differences that has happened, and you can compare with what are the recordings that are available on YouTube to know how much it has modernized or changed. So a lot of things have changed.
Excuse me, sir, one second. From Mr. Venkiram.
So one question, I actually asked you this after one of your concerts before, which is one difference between Western classical concerts and Carnatic concerts is, in a Western concert, you're expected to sit very still, silent, and concentrate on the music. And I noticed that in many concerts, even at the Music Academy, people are coming and going throughout the concert, even when you're doing alapana, you know, and really doing detailed exploration of a raga. And I'm wondering whether that affects your concentration or if it's a distraction, and how you deal with this. And I know in jazz, for example, it's more similar to what you're
So I'll have to think like a jazz musician when I sing in that sense. But yeah, I get your point. It's similar in a sense to literary festivals also, because you can see that happening here as well. But I can answer one way, that where the audience, every seat is paid for, this thing doesn't happen. When every seat is paid for, people learn even to control their bladders. Whereas if they have a membership, for annual membership of 500 rupees, for which they get 83 concerts free, then what you say happens a lot more. Unfortunately, Music Academy is also a party to that practice. But where every seat is paid for, it doesn't happen.
Sanjay, one honest question. Do you consider yourself a gifted singer or one who has evolved and improvised with sheer dedication and perfection over the years?
I don't understand gifts. I only understand hard work.
Fine.
Yes,
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, up in the balcony.
Yeah,
I've been a huge fan of you. I've listened to you all my childhood. So, there was a moment you mentioned during now that when Sindhu Bhairavi came and when the Carnatic music didn't sit well with it being in cinema. But now you saying that you understand why. Now you understand that it was a tribute by Ilayaraja sir to that. That looks like a full circle moment of you understanding what it is. Have you had such full circle moments as you being a singer, just in the realm of you being a singer, in any sphere of it?
No, I still have a few more dots to complete, no? I'm only 57. So circle won't complete so soon. There's still time for me to finish the circle. So because I'm looking forward to doing so many more things tomorrow or day after, no? So it's not like that. That is comprehension, because you had a problem with that and today you reconciled it. But as a singer, it's not the same, because you are always looking forward to the next concert, the next engagement, the next time you're going to sing. So it will never be complete like that.
I think we have time for no more questions. One more question. Up. Finished.
Ram.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Ram.
Yeah, can I?
You are deeply into, Sanjay, you're deeply into cricket. And people like me, there's a hierarchy. Test cricket at the top, ODIs, bottom of the pile is T20. Maybe youngsters think differently. For you in music, do you make a similar hierarchical, is there a hierarchical structure there? Or are you a sort of music equivalent of cultural relativist?
No, I don't make hierarchies in music. All music is great. All music is wonderful. I think I don't believe in saying that classical music or folk music or light music or cinema music, or every music, because music is the most beautiful thing for listening and experiencing. And how can hierarchy come in? In cricket, hierarchy is for the. Yeah, I get what you say. I am a snob as well. But musically, I am not. So I don't mind anything.
Thank you so much. We've